Hi, salam satu Malaysia. Good day to everyone around the world. Welcome to our first ever series organized by the Malaysian Olympism in Action community. This first series theme is what is Olympism in COVID-19 situation. I am happy to be your host of today's episode 4 in this series. My name is Norasila binti Muhammad Khalid. I am a former national athlete and Olympian in 400 meter hurdles. Currently, I am an elite coach in sprint and hurdle at Sarawak State Sports Council. I coach the young, talented and cute athletes in Sarawak. I'm sure most of you are not familiar with the people behind this Malaysian Olympism in Action community. We are the participant of the National Olympic Academy of NOC and mostly are the moderators. We are strong together for one particular reason. It's the love of the sports, and we will love to promote Olympism at especially the philosophy of life and the community, emphasizing the core values of Olympism, which is friendship, respect, and excellence. Okay, before we carry on, let me recap to you our previous episodes. The first episode, we have had Administrator, Datuk Professor Dr. Shamala, a very energetic woman, holds many responsibility in sports arena, and she is a professor in computer science. Today is her birthday, so happy birthday, Prof. And our second episode, we have the parent, Irene Chio. She is the mother of Julian Yee, our first ever Winter Olympian. I am so proud of you, Julian, and of course the mother, yeah. And the third episode, we had Tanya Teo with the topic of volunteer. She shared with us her experiences, volunteerism in the Summer Olympic Game 2008. Okay, today in this episode 4, the topic is the coach. Before he joined me here, let me explain to you a bit about our guest today. Okay, he was a former national squash player and he decided to switch for coaching at quite a young age and successfully formed Penang Squash Academy with his close associate, Ko Teng Hin. He has guided many young athletes, both Malaysian and non-Malaysian, and one of his best achievements so far is guiding a former world number 5 and current national number 1, Loh Wee Wen, since her tender age. What a great achievement, amazing, yeah? Okay, without delaying, I welcome you, the coach, Aaron Soiza.
Hai Zila.
Apa khabar orang Penang? Sihat kah?
Khabar baik. Yeah, sihat. Good to be on the show.
Yes, lovely to see you on the show, yes.
Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure to be on the show.
Yeah, thank you for being with us. And viewers, you can't believe this, okay? Aaron, he doesn't have much social media and today he is on live Facebook. Yeah, that's actually something that you will remember forever, Aaron, yeah?
Yeah, it's actually my first ever Facebook Live interview that I've ever done in my life.
The same here.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, see, we already get a comment here from Sharon.
Yeah.
Hi, Vern.
Hi, Sharon.
So nice to see you here. Watch your coach, Aaron. Chaya lah. So she's referring to your athlete, is it?
Yes, that's right. That's we were my athlete, yeah.
Okay.
And, hello, Sharon. Yeah.
Yeah, good to see all the athletes of yours watching today. Yeah. Okay. Should we start now, Aaron?
Yeah,
the
go
question?
ahead, yeah. I think it'll be a perfect time to start. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sure the introduction of you just now was so brief. It will be best to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. It will be interesting to know how have you started in squash and why do you choose coaching as your profession?
Well, that's a very, I can give you a very long answer to that, but let's cut to the meat of the discussion here. And basically, I started squash and my career in squash. It started when I was pretty young. I was in my teens, about 13 years old, when I started training and learning how to play squash. And I basically uh, had a liking for the game, as well as a liking for the community that was involved with squash at that point in time. So my very first coach, Ms. Ipoi Hun, who happens to be Nicole David's first coach as well. She, organized a coaching clinic and a group for it was a small group. It wasn't a big group, but there were a few of us who were in there, and those who were in there became really good friends, and so today we are all very good friends. Um, and some of us still play squash, some of us work together. Like I'm working, my dear Kling Hu Ting Hin we are working together. We came up from the same batch of squash trainees as well. And through the years, the love for the game grew, and eventually I progressed on to playing squash for Malaysia and giving professional squash a chance, a try. And when in 2000 and at the end of 2001, when I ended my career in competitive playing, I headed back to Penang. I came back to Penang and to join both my brother at that time, was a full-time coach here, as well as putting him to set up an academy here. And, with the guidance of and the blessings of the Squash Records Association of Penang, we basically started this academy. And it's been in existence officially since 2003 till now.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, interesting. I mean, in sport, we make friends forever. Am I right?
Yes, we do. We make friends not just in Malaysia, not just in other states, but all around the world as well. So I've traveled a fair bit of the world, and a fair bit of the world has come to Penang to see squash here and to compete here as well. So got friends all over the world.
That's what sports do to us. Yeah. Okay, let's go to our next question. Yeah. COVID-19 has affected many people's life. It is sad to hear many people have died and suffered due to the current pandemic. I am sure with the current situation, coaches are also affected by it. So how was COVID-19 and the MCO, Movement Control Order, affected your daily life and coaching, Aaron?
Well, firstly, it's sad to hear that so many people have suffered from this COVID-19 situation, and all over the world. It's not just in Malaysia, it's not just in Asia, it's all over the world. And basically, the entire world came to a standstill. It's an unprecedented event that has occurred, and I don't know if we ever have this again in our lifetimes. But it's not something that we can draw any experience from a living person. I don't think anybody has lived through this. The only thing that has come close to this was probably 1918 flu pandemic. So it's an eye opener. It's a situation that is different, and how it has affected everyone, not just coaches, athletes alike, not just in squash, but in every sport, and not just in sports, in every industry as well, all over the world. So I have highly encouraged my players, my athletes, and anyone that I have an amount of influence over to stay home, to stay safe, and to follow all the guidelines set by the Ministry of Health, and that the guidelines set by the Ministry of Health are also the guidelines that are used around the world. Quarantining, staying at home, trying to break the chain of the virus attack, also to flatten the curve. And whilst being at home, of course, as as people who have been involved in sports for many years, and I have athletes who are itching to have a go at sports again. I've encouraged them to stay active at home, um, and to exercise and to be active in the comfort of their own homes. And that's the best thing that they can do for now until we get a clear direction of where we're heading, and a clear directive that if we can return to sport. As of now, the government has mentioned that exercise, solitary exercise in small groups is available, is okay outside, but squash being an indoor sport, we're not allowed to participate in any form of training indoors. So likewise, I encourage everybody to hang in there. It won't be that long before we get over this, and we can start resuming into indoor sports and all sports again.
Yeah, I'm sure it is affected to most of the indoor sport. Yeah, like gym, they are not allowed to open until now. That's also affected to all the players, your players. I mean, indoor is an indoor sport,
Yeah.
squash. So you can't actually do your practice at all. So
Yeah.
how do you actually encourage your players to do their normal practicing? Yeah, I mean, probably you have something special tips to all the coaches out there.
honestly, there is no special recipe to this. There is no normal training. It's a new normal now, as of now, for the foreseeable future. We don't necessarily get space to do squash, any form of squash, anywhere in our homes. What more in Penang, where most players, most athletes live in the confines of either apartments or condominiums, and they have limited amount of space. So yeah, it's rare that anyone has any space at all, if any, in their homes to do any hitting of the squash ball on the wall in their homes, and I believe many of them can't. So the next best thing to do is to keep in shape physically, and I've encouraged a lot of my players, in fact all of them, to exercise at home with a series of exercises that I've picked through the help of YouTube actually. Really useful exercises on YouTube that you can find. High performance exercises that I encourage everybody to try. You'd be amazed at what videos you can get on YouTube for training at home during quarantine, and I especially made videos now for quarantine training at home, and I selected a handful of these videos, and I encourage all my athletes, young and old, to give them a try and to work as hard as they can at the videos, and eventually stay strong and stay fit.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. I myself as a coach, you know what I did? I made my own video so that I
That's
can show
wonderful.
it to my athlete. Yeah, because sometimes it's a bit difficult because they are so young. They can't
Yeah.
actually understand specifically on the exercises, and I don't want them to do a wrong movement. So I do it myself. I show it to them so that they can actually look at the video whenever they do their exercises. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I mean, if I have the expertise with, if I had a little bit more expertise at using the videos, making my own videos, but then again, in the comfort of my own home, I don't have much of space to do that. Like every other person, I can understand we will rely on some external help, and YouTube has been a huge help actually, to be honest. So yeah.
Yeah, the same here as well. Yeah. So, Aaron, you have attended the International Olympic Academy session 2003. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about your experience attending the session, and how do you inculcate the spirit of Olympism to your athletes?
Okay, it's a funny one because it's been many years. It's been 17 years now since I went to the IOA session in Greece, and but I can still remember a lot of it. Um, well, the thing about the session and what I learned from the session back then. I was a young coach. I only started coaching a couple of years full time, and firstly, going to the National Olympic Academy session opened my eyes on what the true values of Olympism is and the ideals of the Olympic movement. Then I was fortunately chosen as a representative to go to the IOA and to in Olympia and to represent Malaysia. And I went, and I was so glad that I went in the first place. It was a 15-day trip, as I can remember, and we spent quite a number of days in Athens itself, viewing all the ancient Olympic sites. And we eventually moved on to Olympia and spent the rest of a good 10, 11 days in Olympia, and going through sessions with moderators, ex-Olympians, people from the IOC, and people from participants from all over the world. And as we delved deeper into the spirit of Olympism and the true ideals of Olympism, we learn true values and moral values more than the need to win or the need to succeed. So the real success is from the values that we derive from sports, and that's what actually helped me in nurturing all the young players that I've nurtured here in Penang and creating a culture and environment that helps that, and a sustainable environment that can actually nurture all good moral values. So yeah, that was the biggest change in for me, and I was very fortunate to go then and to learn it a very early part of my career, and it's been embedded into me, and I still do the same thing now.
Oh, that's great. That's great, Aaron. Yeah. I think all of us, the coaches, need to always remind ourselves values is really important to actually teach all the athletes, because
Yeah,
if we don't have that value, it's very hard to be a champion. Yeah.
it is. I agree. And Sila, I know you for many years now as an Olympian as well, and all the training that you've done, and the high performance that was needed from you to achieve all your targets. You probably have gone through quite a lot of these things as well, and you've learned it from the sport itself. Yeah. So all these values of hard work and friendship and punctuality and responsibility. Yeah, commitment.
Exactly. So we have one question from our viewer. So it's
Yes,
from
Sebastian.
Sebastian Chan, our friend. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Sebastian. Hi, Sebastian.
so his question is, how would you know if your athlete does the training? Do you force them? And how do you motivate them to train at home every day? Wow. Do you force them?
Yeah, great question. Now, I encourage them. I don't force them. At the end of the day, I encourage my players. I leave the responsibility of training with them. They have a responsibility as high performance athletes, and I have a handful of players who are actually high performance athletes. They will automatically um, indulge themselves in the activities and the training. So I do not have to force them, and eventually I will have, and I had, and I will have assessments for return to training, and the players know that, and they will get active and eventually indulge themselves and participate in the training by themselves without me having to force them to do it. Yeah. So I do encourage them by sending them, useful videos that are challenging, but at the same time encouraging, because if they can do it and finish the entire video, it just shows the caliber that they are. So this is my way of having the players participate in the activities that I prescribe for them at home.
Yeah, and that's actually really good, I think, because it also will reflect their real attitude. I mean, whether or not they want to be a champion, whether or not they really want to take responsibility of their own self. Am I right?
Yes, they say this will separate the boys from the men, as they say.
Yes,
You know,
true.
the ones
Okay.
that are hard on it, they will carry on and they will do it wholeheartedly. And there will be some who won't, but um, they will eventually do it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Okay, our next question. Being a coach can be challenging. It's not easy, I'm sure of that. Yeah. In many ways, what was your greatest challenge so far, and how do you motivate yourself using the spirit of Olympism to keep doing what you're passionate the most?
Right, that's a good question because I this is a nice one, and I shared this before with many people. The biggest challenge I had was because I started off very young, and
Mm.
I started off at a very young age, and the first thing that I get thrown at me is that you are young, you are inexperienced, you don't have the caliber, or you're not capable of doing this, or you're not capable of doing that. So I've had a fair bit of that thrown at me at a very young age. But nevertheless, I always told myself, and I also mentioned this to a few people. I said, if I keep viewing myself as very young and I need experienced people to take over, then I will never be able to experience it. So I challenged the system a fair bit. Um, we quite a long time ago, and I said that I will grow as time passes, and I need to experience all these experiences to become an experienced coach. Otherwise, I will never be an experienced coach. And that was the
Mm.
biggest challenge to ensure that I can actually experience all these things, to allow to gain the trust of the people who are administering the sport, to trust me with carrying out my duties. So that was the biggest part because I was young, so the age played in, and then of course I had no track record, um, and I had to build a track record. As the players got better, definitely I would have to better myself as well to help the players to succeed. And this is one of the things that kept me going because today I may have the experience. I probably have the experience to deal with players, as you know from my track record. Um, but I would not have gotten this experience and this track record had I not pushed to achieve this. So that was the biggest challenge, to get the opportunity to achieve with the players what they have achieved. It was always in the good intentions of having the players benefit. So we've spoken about this before, Sila, and you know this very well as a coach yourself. It's athlete-centered, coach-driven. So this motto stays with me. So it's always the athlete-centered, and um, the spirit of Olympism, the athlete is center stage. So we want to make sure that whatever we do, it benefits the athlete first. It's always the case. We want the athletes to perform. We want the athletes to have a career. Doesn't matter if it's not a professional career. If it's a short career, if it's during their school life, just a junior career, that's fine. It's a career still, and it's what the players want. And whatever they want is athlete-centered, coach-driven. So this has kept me going for many, many years, and it probably keep me going for many, many more years to come as well.
Yeah, I always have the same mind. Yeah, also because we need to highlight the athlete as the center and coach driven. We need to drive that. Yeah, doesn't matter how challenging it is, we have to drive that. Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Halim have a question for us, for you, not me. Yeah. Aaron, as a coach, what's your greatest high point as a coach?
Hello, Aline. Thanks for your question. Well, the greatest high point, actually, to be honest, if you ask me now, if I look back, I would say that, I have had the opportunity to work with players of all levels. I've helped create together with my colleagues, my esteemed colleagues. They are the backbone of the academy as well here in Penang. We have together been able to work as a team for many, many years. And Pu Teng Hin and I have been the pioneers of this academy. 18 years ago, we started, and it's still running today. Probably the most successful academy in Malaysia for squash. Is the greatest high point is to be able to give players an opportunity to do squash and to have a crack at doing squash and making it a career. So we've had Weewen make squash a career, and she's been a very, very successful athlete, not just for Penang but for Malaysia. And she's achieved many, many achievements in the world that a lot of athletes aspire to achieve. So this is one of the greatest highs, is helping players achieve greatness, and having a successful career in squash. Likewise, I also have this um, need to help coaches, young aspiring coaches, to achieve um, a career in coaching squash as well. So I've in the academy here, we provide assistance and guidance to young coaches, and we assist them and guide them and take them hand in hand and help them achieve and learn and teach them how to become better coaches as well.
Wow, wow, Aaron, I get what you mean. To me, it doesn't matter how high the achievement of the athlete. If they can actually achieve that teeny tiny level, doesn't matter what level it is, district or the state or even the national, that is an achievement. Am I right?
Yes, it's a career that the players choose, and if they are, I would say whatever career that the players have chosen, I respect that entirely. Even if it's a short, premature squash career that helps them achieve, you know, a scholarship to go to university for that matter, and I'll be happy to assist as long as they put in the time, they are committed to it. And I've got so many players now in the States, studying in the States on scholarships, and they have excelled in squash at junior level, and they have been recognized by universities to play in the college university league in America, and they've gone. And I really admire them for choosing that, and I'm very happy for them as well.
Yeah, yeah. So we have a question from Irene Chio. She's also our guest, our last guest, in the topic of parent. So she is asking, what do you tell a parent if unfortunately their child is not as talented as they think, and they set very unrealistic goals? How do you drive that?
Yeah, it's a good question, Irene. I like this question. I mean, I get this all the time as well. Um, People ask me this: how do I deal with parents who are pretty unrealistic in their goals for the children? Basically, to me, like all the years that I've been operating here and I've been in the coaching field, I've never taken the view of the parent um, in terms of realistic targets so much. It's always the targets of the athletes that matter most. And as a coach, I would sit down with the athlete and we decide on the targets. And eventually, through the work that's done, I've seen over the years that parents actually, if they hang in there for long enough, for years, they will start realizing that their goals, although it's important, their children's goals are far more important. And then they start realizing that they have to be a bit more realistic, and their children's goals are the ones that matter, because it's been deliberated by the coach and the player, and we are the ones working on the sports court, and we know what is happening. And then they realize that, and then they mellow down. So I don't necessarily tell them that the goals are unrealistic. We try to work uh, and try and achieve our goals. But the motivation is the goal of the athlete. So I would definitely look at the athlete, speak to the athlete, have a good relationship with the athlete, and try and find out from the athlete what he or she wants. And if that's the goal, then we work towards it.
Yeah, I think that's the best method to work with the athlete. Yeah, work toward the
Yeah,
same goal. Yeah,
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 an agreed goal. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, Aaron, I'm gonna ask you a little bit sensitive question now.
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
All right. There have been many perceptions about coaching profession. Do
Yeah.
you think coaches are undervalued and has not been given enough recognition?
Yeah, that's a good one actually. Very much so in different sports as well. But across the board, I would say yes. Coaches are pretty much. I'd say I agree with you. Pretty much undervalued for a start. What more if you are local coaches? Even more undervalued for a start. It's been it's not something uh, that I say. It's visible um, everywhere in all sports. But nevertheless, I think that when I first started in squash and I became a coach, I said one of the first things that I said was that I wanted to make coaching a viable option as well for as a career path. There were not many people, not many squash coaches back in the day when I started coaching. It was in 2000, end of 2001, 2002. There were few who came and they left, or they cited many reasons. Some citing a better option, better prospect in a different industry, and they left. So there were not many full-time coaches at all, and coaches were undervalued then. But the whole goal was to try and make coaching a viable option. And I think today, in terms of in squash, I think full-time coaching is a very viable option. Many people have taken up the offer to become full-time coaches. So it's improving. It is improving at the moment. High performance coaching, of course, that depends on very much on government support and private funding support. But if you're talking about recreation, mass participation, and club coaching for squash, for that matter, there's a growing need for coaches all over the world, and it has grown. I must admit that places like the United States of America have employed the big names to coach in America, and it's a lucrative business in America. And even in places like China now, they're looking for more and more squash coaches. To start and develop squash in China. So it's surprising, but it is true. Many people have come to me with requests for recommendations for coaches to go to China, and so I've done some recommendations as well. So it's growing. Definitely undervalued, but it's growing.
So have you got any offer from other countries to go and coach there?
Well, yes,
I'm sure.
I have had numerous offers to go elsewhere in many different parts of the world. But like I said from the very beginning, my goal was to make coaching a viable option in Malaysia. Number one of the reasons that was it. The other reason was to create an environment and a culture whereby players can actually um, nurture themselves and they can become good from. And the years that I spent here in Penang in this academy, together with my esteemed colleagues who've been the pillars in this academy as well, um, both helping me and me helping them, working together to develop squash here, and we've seen a fair bit of success in squash in Malaysia. We have attracted people from abroad to come over to Penang to base themselves here. And I really thank actually the community of Japanese squash players that have moved from Japan um, over to Penang, and they base themselves here. They've relocated their lives, their schooling, to be here to train squash, and they've almost all of them have gone back and been very, very successful in Japan as national squash players. So I've had players from all parts of the world, Australia. I've had players from South Africa coming in, uh, India, even Pakistan for that matter, to be based in Penang, to access the expertise that we have here in Penang, the facility that we have here, the entire package that is pretty complete here. And yeah, so the offers going abroad, I've declined all of them, to be honest.
Ah,
That's why I'm still here today after all these
no,
years.
it's actually the other way around. You actually bring other people to come to Penang, so the industry can grow. Even the tourism will grow in Penang. Who don't want
There
to
was,
go there,
yeah,
right?
yeah, that was a goal. One of the goals was to bring them in. And we've always been, in the early part of squash in Penang, we've always seemed like a small place for squash, not recognized at all in the world. So we were looking at going abroad to get experience. But when we changed it around and developed squash, everybody wanted to come here to experience squash in Penang. And I said, yeah, that's one of the goals to make it a squash hub in at least Southeast Asia, so that players can actually come over to Penang or Southeast Asia. They need some squash, they can come to Penang. Affordable, economical, complete, I would say.
Yeah, and one of the best coach in the world. Not to
I hope.
forget that.
There, there are many,
Okay.
many, many good coaches out there. To be honest, there's so many good coaches out there, and
You will
this is
become
just not
one
given
of
the due recognition. That's all.
them. Okay, Aaron, we have a
Yeah.
question from Tanya. Okay, she's asking, hi Aaron, can you share with us how you handle your transition from elite player to an experienced coach now? Perhaps tips for those going through this. Thanks. Cheers from Copenhagen.
Hello, Copenhagen. Good to hear from you. Yeah, that's a good question actually. How they are transit from being an elite player. Now, the many people have spoken about this. A good coach doesn't have to be a good player. A good player doesn't necessarily make a good coach. But definitely being an elite player, a competitive elite player before, helped me become a good coach. Because I went through quite a lot of coaches, went through quite a lot of regimes, and learned what was best to do and what was best not to do, and paid a lot of attention to detail. This is something that I learned from a coach a long time ago, to pay attention to detail and to the areas where it matters most, the areas of needs. And so as a player, I picked up quite a lot of tips and I kept them with me. And I went through a number of coaches, and really good coaches, some of them. And I picked up those pointers of how they conducted coaching sessions and how they ran squads, how they interacted with players and athletes and parents. And yeah, it's formed the backbone of how I deal with players and parents, and the helped me with the transition from being an elite athlete to a coach, and helped me become a better coach, in fact. Yeah.
Fabulous. Yeah, always pay pay a little bit attention to detail. That is very important, yeah?
Yeah, you got to pay attention to the details. I mean, that's very important. People forget the details, and it's a suicidal case if you don't pay attention to the details.
Yeah, I'm sure of that. Okay. Oh, wait, we have another question here from Najib Arif. Yeah. How do you see if a player has potential or not to go forward? And what do you do to the one not performing? Ah,
Hi, Najib.
all
Thanks
right.
for the question. Yeah, this okay. Player potential going forward or not? I mean, it's we in the academy here together with the rest of the coaches, and I've got really, I've been pretty blessed to have here. We've been pretty blessed to have coaches of all levels, coaching different levels. We have the grassroots levels, we have the development level, we have the backup, and we have the elite players. And the coaches dealing with the grassroots players and the development players, they are really hands-on, and I really appreciate their effort and their time spent with young players at a very young age, and they nurture these players, give them the basics needed to hit the ball and to play some squash. And then they make recommendations to us because they are so experienced at that level. So they make recommendations to the academy to move them up in terms of level, and then we move them up. So the potential to go forward really comes from the players' efforts first, and also the recommendation from the coaches who are very experienced at that level. So we've got a number of coaches here in the academy who deal at that level, at the grassroots level, and they pick up the best talents and they nurture the talent from there. The ones who are not performing, well, it's all about motivation. It's all about encouragement, basically, in terms of tournaments and in terms of high performance. There will be a case where there is a huge chance that players who are not performing uh, will make a decision, to be honest, whether they should carry on or they should not carry on. We put players who we enroll players into tournaments and competitions all over the country and sometimes overseas as well. And players perform, participate in these events, and from the results from the events, and from the performances in these events, they can self-evaluate themselves as to whether they are actually making headway or not. And if they're not, most likely they will, you know, discuss with the coaches on why they're not making any headway or what their future is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Discussion is very important between the coach and athlete. I agree with you. Okay, you know what, Aaron? It's almost 45 minutes already now.
Yeah, it's very quickly.
Really, it's very quickly.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd like to ask you this one question. We've been talking about coaching, we've been talking about athletes all the time. So, if you're not coaching, what do you do? What is the flip side of you?
What's the flip side of me? Well,
Yeah.
now I have kids to look after. So it's family life. I've got my son is 5 years old, and my daughter is 3 years old. So I've got both them to look after as well. So as much as my wife looks after them, she works as well. So on the flip side, I have to, if I'm not coaching on my days off, like during the MCO, being at home, I will have to be a stay-at-home daddy, and I have to look after both my children, who have got no place to go except to stay home as well. My wife still runs online classes, and she's a teacher, so she does that. So I look after the kids as much as I can, and yeah, play the guitar, and have time off to relax. Um, I'm basically an active coach. I'm very active on the squash court, very involved with the process of coaching. So it takes a toll on the body. And as much as possible, when I have the time to rest, I would like to put my legs up and allow my body to rest a little bit.
I understand that. So you're also a good musician. You can play guitar.
Well, I can play the guitar. I'm not great at it. I'm not fantastic at it at all. I enjoy it, and it's a hobby of mine. And it's entertaining, and
Yeah.
it's very soothing as well. So yeah,
Mm.
so that's what I do to pass some time and to relax.
That's good. That's good. I wish I can learn any of music instrument. Yeah, soon. I should be doing that also. Okay,
It's never too
Aaron.
late.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Uh, okay, Aaron. Really, time goes by so quick. I can actually ask you even more questions. Yeah, but this episode has been very fruitful. Any take-home message you'd like to share with us before we end the episode today?
Well, yeah. The take-home message here is the topic of this discussion is the coach, and I'm trying to reach out to all the coaches out there, being young, being old. I mean, being new, being seasoned in the sport, senior in the sport. Some of them have been coaching for many years. All the young coaches, I understand your difficulties because I've experienced it as well. Work hard at what you're doing, and I encourage all young coaches to give this a good try. It is a wonderful career. I can tell you that it's wonderful. I've had a good career, and I would like to continue having a good career. And I encourage young coaches, aspiring coaches, to not give up. Work hard at what you want to achieve. Work hard with your players. Always remember, athlete-centered, coach-driven, and keep working hard. I would love to see more and more young coaches develop themselves to be elite high performance coaches in the country and all over the world. This is my take home message.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, Aaron, for your insights and sharing. I personally enjoyed it, and
You're
hope the
welcome, very most welcome.
hope the same with the viewers today. I wish you all the best, and hopefully soon we will have world number one in squash again, following the footsteps of our very own former world number one Nicole David.
My fingers
And
are crossed.
yes, yes, true. And I am sure one of your athletes has the potential.
I hope so. I hope so too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course there will be. Yeah. Okay. Aaron, do you like to wish your Muslim friends selamat berbuka,
I
especially in
would
Penang?
love to. Yeah.
Yeah.
As Raya is looming just over the weekend, and I just past the weekend, I would firstly like to wish all my Muslim friends and all the Muslim viewers here Selamat Hari Raya, because I won't get to wish you um, later. Also for today, selamat berbuka puasa, stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll catch up soon sometime in future.
Great, Aaron. Great. Okay. I hope I will see you again. Bye bye, Aaron, and take care.
Thank you so much, Sheila, for having me on the show. Thank all the guys who are behind the scenes, preparing this show. Linio, especially, you've made this possible. Nicholas as well, and all the guys. We catch up soon. Thank you. Signing off
Yeah.
now. Bye bye.
Bye, Aaron. Okay, viewers, to conclude our fourth episode today, I can only say this. Wow, Aaron had shared many things just now. I think his sharing was very beneficial to all the coaches out there. Doesn't matter in which field you are. This include the athlete. So his word was always hard work and believe in yourself, stay with your goal, and remember, athlete-centered, coach-driven. Okay, always remember that. Okay, before we end the episode today, let me inform viewers that the next series will be on the 22nd of May, 2020 with the topic of the Olympian. Don't miss this episode, as this will be our last episode for this series from us, the Malaysian Olympism in Action community. And if you miss the previous episodes, please go to our website, go to our page on Facebook, yeah. And we also have something very, very special for everyone to enjoy for the last episode. Do tune in this Friday, 22nd May at 3 o'clock, okay? That's it from me today. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay healthy and well, and always be happy. Salam and selamat berbuka puasa. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone.